Welcome to the CLNS Patriots Roundtable. My name is Alex Barth. I am joined by Mike Alongi and Mike Dussault. Super Bowl Friday, kind of a Groundhog Day for Patriots fans. Another Super Bowl Friday, second year in a row. And as we've been doing all week, we'll take you through the main storylines of the day, some storylines pertaining to the game as we get you ready for Super Bowl 52 in Minneapolis. Gentlemen, how you doing this morning?
Pretty well. Ready for this game for sure.
Yeah, sick of the hype. Let's go.
Is it just me, or are these pre-Friday, these pre-Super Bowl weeks, the longest week of the year? And it's ridiculous we have it down to a routine, but this is even more than the bye week. This is always the longest week of the year to me.
Well, I think the craziest thing is just all of the hype and all of the different storylines. I mean, you have media day on Monday night, and then it's not even called media day anymore. It's opening night because there's a media day again on Tuesday, and then again on Wednesday, and again on Thursday. And then, I mean, this year especially, there's been so many different stories with all the Brady stuff and the Belichick, the two bills coming out, which we'll talk about later on. I mean, there's just so much stuff going on during the week that it almost makes it feel even longer than it is.
Well, let's start with this storyline because it's kind of new to this Super Bowl. There are only two individuals. See if either of you know this, because I figured this out the other day. Who are the only two players in NFL history to win a Super Bowl with and lose a Super Bowl against Tom Brady? Do you guys know?
Not off the top of my head.
Wow, that's a tough one.
So Jermaine Wiggins is won in 01 and then lost as a member of the Panthers. Joe Villano was a part of the Super Bowl 49 championship team and was on last year's Falcons. So those are the only two players. What was that?
Those are two names that I would definitely not have guessed. I can say that.
It's no big names, but two more could be added to that list potentially on Sunday. In Chris Long and LeGarrette Blount, they were both key parts of the team last year. Blount on the Super Bowl 49 team as well, now in Philadelphia, and especially Chris Long. There's kind of been a lot of talk about him coming after Brady this week. Brady saying he hopes Chris Long takes it easy on his elders. Long saying Brady's playing mind games with him. It's all in good fun, but these guys have been in the room. They've studied it. This is not a factor Belichick has had to deal with in Super Bowls really in the past. Do you expect them to have more of an impact on this game than they would, any other generic Eagles game this year simply because of that connection?
I would just say, I mean, in terms of LeGarrette Blount, I mean, every meaningful game he played for the Patriots, I mean, I don't remember him really ever showing up in big games. You remember he had the fumble last year in the Super Bowl. He was one of those guys who, when he has trouble getting going early, he might not get going at all. So I think the Patriots on him kind of know what his MO is and what they have to do to stop him. If he gets in the open field, he'll be dangerous. As for Chris Long, same kind of thing. I mean, he's just part of a bunch of problems. I would just hope, they understand his rushing style. They've seen him in practice as well. So hopefully they know how to, keep him off of Brady. But there's obviously a lot of options on that Philadelphia front that are problems.
Yeah, I think really Chris Long would be the one that would pose more of a problem. I don't anticipate, I mean, we've talked about this throughout the week. I don't really anticipate LeGarrette Blount having a huge impact anyway. But, especially the fact that, Belichick has time to game plan against him. Blount is one of those guys who, if you can get a little bit of penetration through the line and stop him before he gets going, he really can't get anything done out there. He's not a shifty guy. He can't really break tackles before he gets that head of steam going. So I don't anticipate too much to come out of him. Chris Long is a guy I think that could really pose some problems for this Patriots offensive line, simply because the offensive line hasn't been stellar this year. I mean, Chris Long is a great pass rusher. He always has been. It's one of those things that with this Eagles defense, considering they have so many guys who can contribute on that line, Chris Long is basically only a pass rusher. He's a guy who just gets to the quarterback. That's his job. That's what they ask him to do. And he's really good at doing it. So, I mean, obviously going up against guys like Nate Solder, going up against guys like, whether it's Marcus Cannon, Adrian Waddle, whoever it's going to be, it's Chris Long definitely has the opportunity to make an even bigger impact than LeGarrette Blount would, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, you guys seem pretty down on LeGarrette Blount, but let's say the Eagles get down to the goal line. How much faith do you have in the Patriots defensive front to stop him?
No, that's fair. That's definitely fair. I think that LeGarrette Blount certainly could make an impact in that part of the game. Then again, I mean, the Patriots defensive line has gotten some goal line stops this year. I mean, they're one of those things where, I mean, this rushing defense is by no means a stout rushing defense, but at the same time, they get the stops when they need them. And again, if they can figure out a way to kind of just punch a hole in that line and hit LeGarrette Blount before he gets going, I think they might be able to neutralize him.
He, to me, has always kind of been the perfect bend, don't break running back because you don't need him inside the in between the 20s. When you get inside the 20, even on bend, don't break, if it's the plan, the defense is still a little gassed, and that's when LeGarrette Blount likes to cash in. So that's where he worries me. And I mean, I know it's kind of no duh to say this, but really only in the red zone. But he does worry me in the red zone.
Yeah, if they're getting in the red zone, that's the problem. And, we've seen all year from the Patriots defense that, they might give up some plays early in the game, but generally in the second half of the game, they've been pretty locked down. So it's going to be a little scary maybe at the beginning, but we'll see how it comes out in the second half. That's what matters most.
Just want to thank the sponsors of today's roundtable, DraftKings. Go to DraftKings.com and use the promo code CLNS for a free match play. Also want to thank Simple Contacts, where you will be blown away by the quality and ease of use. Go to simplecontacts.com/Trags and use the promo code TRAGS for $30 off your first order of contact lenses. Today's segment is also brought to you by RX Bar. RX Bar is a whole food protein bar. What exactly does that mean? Their bars are made with 100% whole ingredients. Support our programming by going to rxbar.com/CLNS and use the promo code CLNS, where listeners will receive 25% off their first purchase. So, enough about Eagles players. It is a Patriots roundtable. Let's bring it back to the Patriots here. And it seems like every year, for the last couple of years, I'll start in Super Bowl 49. There's an unsung hero. There's some nobody that becomes a household name. It would have been Chris Matthews, 4 catches, 107 yards in Super Bowl 49, had it not been for Malcolm Butler, who you could say was an absolute no-name before that play. Super Bowl 50, Coney Ealy in a losing effort, 3 sacks, interception, forced fumble. He was awesome. And then last year, James White, who was well-known around New England, but I don't think the rest of the country was necessarily aware of him, and he set the Super Bowl receptions record and, of course, scored the game-winning touchdown. So dig deep here, guys. Don't be afraid. Don't think you're going too obscure. Give me one player on each team that, nobody really knows is an NFL player right now. If they saw him on the street, that will be a household name after the game.
I think a lot of people are going in the direction of Corey Clement, who is a running back that is kind of in the style that has given the Patriots problems. The guy that I think that might is interesting to me is Nelson Aguilar, who's just that kind of, you could see him almost as a Patriots receiver. He really fits the mold of kind of in the middle of that field. He can attack where the Patriots aren't their strongest. So I'd kind of look for him to be kind of the chain mover and the guy making some big plays.
Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of tough because if you look at guys who I think it will make an impact on the Patriots side of the ball, I think it's going to be, guys who have names, right? A guy that really strikes me is that I think it will make a big impact in this game is Stephon Gilmore. I mean, he's already had a really big playoff, performances so far. He had that big breakup at the end of the game in Jacksonville last week. I think he could be a guy who can really I think he's going to be on Alshon Jeffrey for the majority of the game, and I think that's going to be one of the more interesting matchups to watch. Alshon Jeffrey, obviously a very legitimate NFL wide receiver, 6'5", over 200 pounds, big, physical, strong, fast, can do pretty much everything out there on the field. So if Nick Foles has that guy, Alshon Jeffrey, and he can get a connection with him and make things happen, that's going to be a real problem for the Patriots. So I think Stephon Gilmore is going to have a really big game against him in this one, and I guess people probably wouldn't recognize Stephon Gilmore if they saw him on the street, right? So I think that'd be it. I think it'd be Stephon Gilmore probably.
You paid $15 million. You don't count as an unsung hero, but I mean, to each their own. I'll give you 2. And this is, you guys are tame compared to me. You guys are going to make me look bad here. My first one's Jacob Hollister. Because
I'm going to stop you right there and say I actually contemplated saying that. I just think Rob Gronkowski is going to have such a big game that he's not going to be a factor. But I was very closely leaning to Jacob Hollister as well.
And Mike, you've been on the pregame show with me, and you can catch the Patriots pregame show at 4:30 on Sunday on shindig.com, the CLNS YouTube page. It's the Eagles, as good as they've been defensively this year, they were second against the pass when wide receivers were targeted, third against the pass when running backs were targeted, 28th against the pass when tight ends were targeted. So, okay, Rob Gronkowski's going to have a huge game, right? I wouldn't be shocked to see the Eagles, because they did it a bit last week, overcompensate guarding Rob Gronkowski, and that's going to free up other tight ends. Now, Dwayne Allen's technically second on the depth chart, but we've seen Dwayne Allen this year. I would not be surprised, and I actually have a standing dinner bet right now that Jacob Hollister plays a factor, maybe even catches a touchdown in the Super Bowl. We've seen them target him in the red zone in big games. He hasn't reeled one in yet, but Brady has a history. He wants to raise that number. He wants to catch Vinny Testaverde of most individuals completing a touchdown pass to. He still doesn't have Hollister. The other name, not a household name, is Ryan Allen, Patriots punter. When you're the Patriots punter, obviously you don't get a lot of face time. Ryan Allen didn't get much this year, but he was outstanding when he did. He had over 20 punts inside the 20, just 3 touchbacks. If the Eagles defense is as advertised and this game turns into a field position battle, Ryan Allen is going to be the most important player in the game for the Patriots. We've seen him time and time again change momentum by flipping the field. And if he can do that a few times, look, I'm not saying he's going to win Super Bowl MVP. All right. If Ryan Allen wins Super Bowl MVP, I'm going spending my life savings on lottery tickets. But he could end up being a huge, huge factor in this game if the Eagles really can stifle the Patriots defense early and often.
Just to piggyback on that, I mean, he really has been great all year, Ryan Allen. I mean, I'm shocked he wasn't a Pro Bowl candidate. I mean, the guy has been fantastic all year. He consistently pins teams either at the 20 or inside the 20. We all know Belichick loves his left-footed punters and all that stuff, but I mean, the guy really has performed incredibly well all year long, and I agree. I think this game could definitely turn into a field position battle, and I would definitely rather have Ryan Allen on my team than probably almost any other punter in the league.
And Mike, just one more thing. Corey Clement, you took that one out of my. I think that's a great comparison, and he compares great. Or I think that's a great pick, and he compares great with Corey Grant of the Jags. And it's not that the Patriots stopped Corey Grant in the AFC Championship game. Jacksonville just stopped going to him. And you got to wonder if Philly sees that and says, all right, well, they stopped doing this, but if we continue to do it, maybe we can continue to put pressure on the defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're just, the Eagles, they present a lot of different challenges for the Patriots, and I think in just the right spots. They're so well, just balanced across the board. The depth is amazing considering they've had so many big injuries. Another guy, I mean, since I threw 2 Eagles out, I mean, I feel like I got to throw a Patriot out there now. I would say maybe Marquise Flowers. Guy who's kind of been coming on. I think, they're going to need that athleticism in the middle of the field. So he's one guy that I think to keep an eye on. Maybe he might play a significant role.
I mean, he had between the last 2 weeks of the regular season, the Titans game, I think he had 4.5 sacks in 3 games. If I'm remembering that correctly, he's playing his best football down the stretch, which Bill Belichick loves. So I want to thank the sponsors of today's roundtable, DraftKings.com. Go to DraftKings.com. and use the promo code CLNS for free match play. We're also brought to you by Simple Contacts, where you'll be blown away by the quality and ease of use. Go to simplecontacts.com/Trags and use the promo code TRAGS, that's TRAGS, for 30% off your first order of contact lenses. This segment is also brought to you by RX Bar. RX Bar is a whole food protein bar. What does that mean? Well, their bars are made with 100% whole ingredients. You can help support our programming by going to rxbar.com/CLNS and use the promo code CLNS, where listeners will receive 25% off their first purchase. One more thing to touch on, guys, before we wrap up this roundtable. We all know the shroud of secrecy that generally hangs over the Patriots, specifically Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, and that's been peeled back this week. Tom versus Time has been rolling out on Facebook now for about a week. Last night, the 2 Bills 30 for 30 on ESPN, which was mind-blowing, I think is the best 30 for 30 they've done. It was absolutely outstanding. Let's start there. And I don't even know where to start. There were so many moments from Bill Parcells calling Robert Kraft as Darth Vader to negotiate the Belichick deal, a snowstorm stopping Kraft from hiring Dom Capers. You saw elements of storylines now in the league being against the Patriots, in Belichick not trusting the front office that go back to the late 90s. It was just, everything you wanted it to be and more.
Yeah, it was really impressive. I mean, it's one of those things where, obviously I'm 26 years old, so my football watching days don't go back as far as Belichick and Parcells with the Giants or anything like that. But, I really started watching the Patriots when Pete Carroll was the coach. But, I mean, just watching the dynamic between those two, I mean, you juxtapose them in the present day speaking about, all the different things that went on in the past, and then lay in all the different footage and just so many great things about it. Belichick, Parcells' coaching style, I mean, just one of a kind, no one like that in the league anymore. It's just really interesting to see that stuff. It was great to hear stuff from the old Giants players. I mean, Lawrence Taylor and Harry Carson, all those guys talking about how great, how they didn't really trust Belichick at first because he didn't play football and all this stuff. But when they saw how great of a coach he really was, how great of a defensive mind he really was, how they totally bought in and went off to win those couple Super Bowls and things like that. It's impressive. I mean, it was impressive to see how good of a coach Belichick was, even with the Cleveland Browns, and how he was trying to kind of establish the Patriots way, so to speak, with the Cleveland Browns, and no one really bought into it, So it was just a lot of different things were really interesting about it. Obviously the dynamic between Belichick and Parcells and their personal relationship was interesting, and really didn't get a ton of answers from it anyway, because they were kind of avoiding questions about it, especially that time with the Jets and things like that.
Well, I thought it was so well done when the camera quit out that they left that whole part in. Spoiler alert, but at one point one of the cameras fails and they leave the other one rolling, and it's one of the, I won't say what it had, it's one of the best moments. I won't spoil it if you haven't seen it, but that was one of the best moments.
Yeah, it was. It was very enjoyable. I mean, it was just kind of all around just great to watch. And then it was the Patriots stuff, obviously, as Patriots fans and things like that. Those, probably the part we were most interested in. And it was interesting. I didn't read it yet, but I saw a column up this morning by I believe it was Doug Kyde of Nesson, saying that you can really kind of see how there are some parallels between the friction that was, started way back then with Parcells and Kraft and Belichick, and then a little bit of the focus that's going on right now with the tension in the locker room, and whether, Kraft and Belichick have issues and stuff like that. It's really interesting to see that, the seeds were sown all the way back then, and still today there is a little bit of friction. So it was just all around really interesting to watch.
And that's what stood out to me. I thought there was no shot that Belichick left New England before I saw that, but the whole shopping for the groceries thing, and Belichick clearly takes what Parcells says as word. Like that's what he believes in. So if Kraft is interfering with Belichick in his player personnel decisions, and Belichick saw what Parcells did when Kraft interfered with him, it made me think twice about being sure Belichick is the coach next year. I still think he will be, but it definitely gave me pause. Real quick, Mike, what was your favorite moment?
Mike, I haven't seen it yet, so, so you got to go.
Other Mike, sorry. We'll get to Mike Dussault in a second. Other Mike, what was your favorite?
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, it was just one of my favorite parts, I will say, was Robert Kraft. I was pretty surprised at the kind of shots that he was taking at the league office, even back then, how he was saying that the league, how they wanted Parcells to be in, in New York in order to, better for the league and things like that. It's very interesting. And I'm not sure he would have said that. Maybe if Deflategate had never happened, I'm not sure if he would have even gone there. But it was interesting to see how he was taking shots at the league for things they were doing back then, and then even kind of laid in some of the shots of things that the league continues to do now. It was pretty surprising to see him be so outright about saying those things.
We had a line, something along the lines of when they were first trying to get Belichick away from the Patriots, from the Jets, something along the lines of, that was the moment I realized that the NFL office wasn't pure. And I jumped out of my seat.
Yeah, that was the biggest one right there. That really, I was like, wow, kind of.
And then, my favorite moment was at the end when Parcells and Belichick walk out of the Giants locker room where they filmed it, and they're kind of being led by the production crew. And Parcells realized they're taking him to the Jets locker room, and he just leaves. And he's like, I don't want to go in the Jets locker room. No, why would I want to go in there? And my first thought was, if they had actually filmed the segment in the Jets locker room, first Pats Jets game next year, the Patriots won, all the Jets fans would be pointing to, Belichick was in our locker room this summer. What did he see? What did he take? So I'm sure Jets fans love the idea of Belichick going in their locker room unattended. The other documentary this week, Tom vs. Time, a little bit of a different feel to it. Obviously, it does have an infomercial feel for TB12, but not as much, I think, as I expected, not as much as a lot of people expected. And it's been very cool to see Tom Brady just kind of as a family man. He does come across very humble. I think the best scenes are the ones of him in the car with his family after the game. Those have been really awesome to see. Mike Dussault, I know you haven't gotten a chance to see the two Bills yet. I hope we didn't spoil it for you, but you've gotten a chance to watch Tom vs. Time.
I did. I mean, it's remarkable. It's finally just a little bit of a glimpse behind the Brady curtain, which has certainly seemed to be getting higher and higher lately. But I think it was really cool. I think I agree. The football stuff with after the game and kind of seeing his wife, and how she gets fired up about it was pretty cool. And I think my favorite moment was in one of the early episodes when he pops on the film from Super Bowl 42, and just watching him go through the emotion of it all and remembering how I kind of went through the same emotion of it all as well. It's kind of a nice reminder of how much these guys do care. And, it means just as much to them as it does to us. And, it's just an interesting moment kind of breaking down that final heave-ho to Randy Moss that almost was complete.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alex.
No, go ahead.
Well, for me, it was the thing that really struck me the most after watching, what has been four or five episodes now. The one thing that really struck me watching them is there is now no doubt why Tom Brady is as good as he is. I mean, the guy watches film 6 hours a day by himself. That's not even counting when you go into the facility and watch film as a team, as a quarterback's group, whatever. The guy watches film for 6 hours a day in his room, just sitting there watching, and then he leaves, voice memos, sending them to Josh McDaniels, telling him, this is what I'm seeing, let me know what you think, all this different stuff. So there's that part of it. And then also the aspect of, he takes two of his teammates out to Montana and works really hard with them, for a week at a time and all that stuff. And then the just sheer emotion of after a game. I mean, he was furious after they lost to the Panthers. He was distraught after they lost to the Chiefs. And then the final thing was, it was really interesting to see just, we've always known that Gisele has been really supportive of him. But to see it actually play out like that in kind of those candid moments, like you mentioned, like the one in the car when they're driving home after the Chiefs game, it's just really great to see, a football wife like that be so supportive of her husband. And, you always hear these stories about how Gisele wants Tom to retire. Gisele wants Tom to retire. And I'm sure that's true, for their family. But there is no doubt in my mind that she 100% supports, everything he's doing. And that includes the fact that he continues to play into his 40s.
Well, I think it does put in context well the "I have all the answers to the test" quote, going back to how much he watches film and all that. I think they've done a great job of that. I want to thank our sponsors for today's roundtable, DraftKings.com. You can go to DraftKings.com and use the promo code CLNS for free match play. I want to thank Simple Contacts, where you'll be blown away by the quality and ease of use. Go to simplecontacts.com/Trags and use the promo code TRAGS, that's TRAGS, for $30 off your first order of contact lenses. Today's segment is also brought to you by RX Bar. RX Bar is a whole food protein bar. What does that mean? Well, their bars are made with 100% whole ingredients. Support our programming by going to rxbar.com/CLNS and use the promo code CLNS. Our listeners will receive 25% off their first purchase. That's going to do it for us today. Final roundtable somehow of the week. We made it, guys. Trags will have you. Mike Petraglia will have you tomorrow from Minnesota. You can catch all of that on @PatriotsCLNS on Twitter, clnsmedia.com. And then, Mike, we'll be back Sunday. We're on deck after Trags here. Super Bowl pregame show on the Patriots YouTube, on the CLNS YouTube channel and shindig.com, starting at about 4:30. You can follow Mike and myself on Twitter @RealAlexBarth, @CLNS_Alongi to get updates on all that. Mike Dussault on Twitter @PatsPropaganda. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
And again, for all our Patriots content @PatriotsCLNS on Twitter, clnsmedia.com. I will talk to everybody Sunday. We're almost there, folks. Hang in there.